You might recall we had the attorney out of Louisiana who was talking about the brutal treatment of inmates there at a facility in Baton Rouge, Louisiana. It sparked a significant controversy there. The mayor demanded changes, and the black police chief of Baton Rouge, well, he agreed. He actually fired a number of officers. Several others actually resigned. Yet, why has this police chief been pressured to resign by largely white city council members? Folks, we're going to show you the video from the council meeting. And if you want to see a police chief who did not mince any words, watch this.
With all due respect, Chief Paul, I think 7 years you've been with us. 7 years you've been with us. I appreciate the fact of finding the bad actors in this department and everything else. And we talk about trust in the police department and everything. But the buck stops with you. We all know that. You've said that before and so on. And I want these people that perpetrated this and that took people to that place and assaulted these people or whatever that happened or claimed to happen and everything else. But it's a stain on East Baton Rouge Parish. It's a stain on the city of Baton Rouge. It's a stain on the police department. And everyone has to be held accountable. And I can't imagine whether it's you, and it's been going on for a long time, previous police chiefs and so on, that wouldn't know about this, that wouldn't know anything or had complaints before or enough complaints. Several people stood up here and said that they've complained about it. They said something about it. They brought it to people's attention. And yet nothing was done until some investigator or however it got out found out. And with all due respect to your position, police chief, I think, and I would ask, that you step back for a while from your position. I know you're fixing to leave, but I think it all has to be held accountable. Everyone. To put trust back in the community, everyone has to be held accountable until the investigation is going through. Again, like I said, even former police chiefs, as far as this investigation goes with the FBI. I don't know how we can show the public that we're truly investigating internally or whatever else when you say you're sitting here didn't know anything about it, or you said before you didn't know anything about it, or it hasn't acted on something previously that happened. That's just my feeling.
That's your word. That's a lot.
Hey, Chief. Chief, I'm gonna let you come to the mic, though. I'm gonna let you come to the mic.
No, I'm not blaming. Look. I want to get this straight. I am not blaming Chief Paul.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna let Chief Paul come to the mic and respond. I'm gonna let Chief Paul come to the mic and respond. No, officers, we don't want to arrest anybody. Hey, Gary, if you let me do my job, I'm going to do my job. Gentlemen, we don't want to arrest anybody. Don't. Nobody asking me.
What is his name? Yeah. Mayor Pro Tem. Mr. Chamber.
This man has a right to do the job.
Gary, you can't take over the meeting.
No, I can't take over the meeting because y'all should have did this weeks ago.
Gary, you can't take over the meeting, so relax, please. You're in the meeting. You've been allowed to speak, so relax, please, sir.
It's a hard thing to do.
I know, but we're going to keep going. Go ahead, Councilmember Moat.
If I came off accusing you directly of not specifically doing anything, whatever, what I'm saying is with the investigation going on, for the transparency of the whole department, you're the top police chief. Would it not behoove us to step back let you step back, and I know you've contacted the FBI, and the FBI has been there, to make it more transparent, is what I'm trying to say. Mr. Chambers, I apologize if it came off.
He the only one we trust, brother. You know my name. He the only one we trust. Don't trust nobody else in BRPD.
Yes, sir.
So we want
I want this matter resolved, and I want the place shut down, and I want everything, I know it's been shut down, I want it gone. And I want all of this resolved. But we can't accept the fact of where everything, the buck starts and stops.
So let's talk bucks. I've been quiet for 4.5. I haven't been here 7 years. I'm sorry, Mayor President, but I'm going to speak my heart on this one. Because let's talk about processes. Let me count. Because this is important. 14 police officers were terminated. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 resigned under investigation. And then there's appeals. And you know what you do? You strip my funding. Yeah. Are you going to pay the attorney all the money that I already owe them for the bad cops that the Civil Service Board, where we're going to be here tomorrow, and none of y'all going to be here. And y'all sitting here trying to deal off these people's emotions, and some of y'all the problem. Jen Rocker, you sit there, defund the police department's budget from a legal standpoint, and then come here because I don't have legal representation and I got to play lawyer to fight these bad actors. Let's talk facts. Let's talk facts. And then what you do? Then you go and you appoint people to the Civil Service Board that have direct ties to the union. There are 5 people on the Civil Service Board. What's wrong with good law-abiding citizens? You putting people on the Civil Service Board with direct ties to the union and wonder why they reverse the decisions that I make. I've been quiet, but I'm not going to be quiet no more. Where were you when they called my kids gangbangers? Where were you? You know about the pictures when they called my black boys gangbangers, and I prayed for them. When the former chiefs of police sit down and share pictures of me and my girlfriend, and I prayed for them. Where were you, Mocha, when they went to Texas, to the camp, and called me a nigger because I was trying to bring reform in this police department? Where were you then, speaking up for them? Don't sit here and play like you don't know about this group of body that try to force the mayor to sit there and fire me for lies and say I only discipline white folks, which is a lie. Don't pretend like you don't know that. Don't pretend like you don't know that.
It's tight, but it's right.
Talk about my little black kids, and I prayed for y'all. I prayed for them. And you sit here like you different, like you not in cahoots. Because I'm going to tell you what they said. They got 6 of y'all in their pocket. Facts. 6 of y'all in their pocket. That's what the union said. The same union tomorrow, when we have a hearing right here before this body, where I said that the search and seizures were improper and illegal. How many of y'all going to be here tomorrow when the attorneys fight and say I should not have disciplined that officer? I've been quiet for 5.5 years, but after November the 8th, I'm not going to be quiet no more. I've been praying for y'all. You think I don't know about the backdoor meetings y'all have with these people, and you sit here like you some, come on now.
Thank you, Chief.
Woo! Joining us right now is activist Gary Chambers. Gary, glad to have you on the show. It is rare to see a police chief who is an employee of the city go off on his employers like that brother did in this video. Clearly, he is fed up. No audio, Gary. I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Roland, for highlighting this conversation that's happening in Baton Rouge. Chief Murphy Paul is a courageous leader, and what he did last week, I think, is the accumulation of frustration from years of serving over a police department that is rogue in many ways, that he's been trying to clean up. He has fired 14 officers. 8 officers have resigned in lieu of termination, and I can't count how many have retired as a result of his leadership. We were pushing last week to make sure that the chief did the job that he's doing right now. We felt that he needed to be more swift on acting on this issue, but you know, he is the police, and I want to remind people that Murphy Paul and I have had our share of tussles around police accountability. But what you see is a black leader who is attempting to do the right thing. And I believe when you have a leader that is doing the right thing, that it is on us to stand up with him. You've got council members like Jen Rocker and Aaron Moak here in Baton Rouge who want him to resign. Here's the deal, Roland. He's already announced that he's retiring November the 8th. And so then to ask him to resign at a council meeting was adding insult to injury. And I don't sit silent while black leaders are disrespected by white folks who have no courage to do the right thing. Jen Rocker, who was making those comments when the Alton Sterling lawsuit was there, she didn't vote to settle it, but she wanted to have optics at a council meeting on the chief as if she's on the side of justice because she wants to be a judge. And so with this national platform you're providing, Roland, you're allowing the things that are taking place in Baton Rouge to be exposed to the rest of the nation. And it's high time because everybody knows we got Boosie, and you see the chief set it off.
So okay. What just jumps out at me, you have the police chief, Chief Paul, who literally says, why are you defunding the legal department? So when he says, I don't have any attorneys representing me here, what is he talking about?
So the chief has, every time he sends a person for termination, they have to go before the Civil Service Board here in Baton Rouge. The chief has legal representation that goes to those meetings with him to help him get success on behalf of the citizens to get rid of these rogue police officers. People like Jen Rocker, who is an attorney in the city of Baton Rouge, Aaron Moak, who's a council member, voted to end his funding or not to approve his funding for his lawyers. So when he goes before this Civil Service Board, which was previously stacked by union representation, he doesn't even have legal representation that understands the law at a depth deeper than him to fight to ensure that these officers don't get back on.
Wait, now I'm confused. So the council member sits there and says, I want this shut down. I want these people gone. I want these things handled. Yet when the chief fires these rogue officers, then the city is not sending a lawyer to the hearing to argue the city's case as to why the chief is firing them?
They would rather use a city attorney rather than hire competent counsel that has expertise, a subject matter expert on these deals. And that is, in any other city, this would be laughable that Republicans would be voting against funding for a police chief, right? But you have Republicans in the city of Baton Rouge who are voting against funding for a police chief because he's black. Let's just tell the truth. Because when Carl Dabney was the chief of police and Alton Sterling was killed, many of these people were silent within our community, but now they want to talk about justice. And remember, Roland, the officers involved, the picture of the main officer is black. So the cop that they want fired is a black cop too. Let's see if they're white cops that are doing the same thing and they have the same tone.
The chief also talks about this review board that says these individuals have direct ties to the union. That's not the kind of folks you want on such a commission. You want folks who are impartial.
Well, not our Baton Rouge City Council. See, Roland, Baton Rouge is a majority black city with a majority white city council. And so because of this, we have had manipulation and really horrible tactics that have been used to pursue a lack of equity. Aaron Moak's a new council member who's running for state representative. And you had Councilwoman Chawna Banks, who's also running for state representative, call out Jen Rocker at that meeting repeatedly. And we need leaders like Chawna Banks and Cleve Dunn because they are pushing the envelope to ensure that equity exists on that council. We wouldn't even have had this issue brought to the council if it wasn't for Councilman Dunn.
Gary, so they're pressuring the chief to resign. But has he resisted so far?
Well, there was a rally this morning to support him where religious leaders and political leaders came and stood with the chief. The mayor stood with the chief. The mayor has indicated that Mayor Shan Weston Broom has indicated that the chief is not going to resign prior to his November 8th retirement, that she is standing with him to stay in his position until that time. But there are leaders within this community who don't even want him at that point because they believe that he is the only chance that we have at justice and equity. And let me be clear, Roland. He was not a Baton Rouge police officer when he was hired into this. He's former state police, and that's why many people in the community wanted him to be the chief of police, because he doesn't have the ties or the historical ties, 30 years of serving with the members of the Baton Rouge Police Department.
I'm still trying to understand, and you and I have talked about these kind of things beforehand. I'm still trying to understand how you got majority black city and you have majority white council.
You know, redistricting, brother. We are fighting that battle right now. We have a majority black city. We have 2 seats that we could flip, but there's not an investment. If you pay attention right now, we have a Louisiana governor's race happening right now in Louisiana. How much is the National Democratic Party investing in a black man named Sean Wilson running statewide who has a chance to stop a radical Republican from winning? But on the local level, we have people who are pushing for us to get fair maps. We have an 89% minority school district that has a majority white school board, right? When you process that, it is taxation without representation, literally. It is having representation that does not meet up to the community that they represent.
You talked about today's rally. The mayor, Sharon Broome, was at that rally, correct?
She was.
And I was, and so someone who was attending that, folks, go to my iPad. You hear just some of what she said today at that rally.
Make no mistake about it. He is esteemed by the White House. He is esteemed by his colleagues from coast to coast. And it's not just because of his name. It's because of his leadership. As mayor president, I've had the opportunity to appoint a number of people to leadership positions. I unequivocally say that one of my best hires was Murphy Paul. I will always stand behind that. We live in some perilous times. I have said from the beginning of this year that we are red stick rising. What you see behind me, around me, out here is red stick rising. What you heard from Chief Paul is we are no longer satisfied with just letting things go by.
All right, Gary, what happens next? Obviously, federal authorities are looking into this police department. Is this chief going to tough it out until, look, we're going to talk about a month left, right, before he officially retires?
I think that Mayor Broome is going to stand with Chief Paul because the people are standing with Chief Paul. Otherwise, I believe she would have asked him to apologize to the white members of the council. But I really believe that he's going to be there. I believe that what he's doing right now, how often does a chief of police call the feds in on his police department? We're going to find out a whole lot of things in the weeks and months ahead. And I would really like Murphy Paul to help stay at the head of this investigation because he's got the integrity and he's proven to us already he'll deal with bad cops. Like I told you, we've had our tussles and pushed the issue, but when he finds out a cop has done the wrong thing, he does hold them accountable. And that's all we can ask for.
Well, and that's one of the things that we have not seen in a whole bunch of police departments across this country. And we also are talking about Louisiana, where they had, of course, the massive cover-up in the state patrol officer as well. I want to bring in my panel, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. She is an economist, an author based out of D.C. Dr. Amakongo Debinga, senior professorial lecturer, School of International Service, American University out of D.C. Renita Shannon, former Georgia State Representative out of Atlanta. Glad to have 3 of you here. You know, what really jumps out here, Julianne, when you look at this city, and we talk about how do we deal with bad cops, corrupt cops, abusive cops. Here's a police chief who's also trying to save these same city council members a lot of damn money because a lot of these cities have to pay out massive lawsuits, massive payouts because of lawsuits due to police violence.
Absolutely, Roland, and that we see this time and time again. My question, of course, the police chief has said he's resigning or retiring, and so that's that. These crazy people on the council want him to step back sooner, which is wrong. But I'd like to ask your guests, what's next? He retires. When he does, who's next up? How does anything change? He's been a stalwart. He's been had his hand, his finger in the dike. But what happens when he does leave? Who's next?
So Mayor Broome is set to appoint a new chief of police at some point in November, or an interim chief. But she has a list of candidates that most people in the community are now questioning, because a lot of them are Baton Rouge police officers. And with a federal investigation, many of us don't know whether or not any of these officers are involved. If the chief just arrested the deputy chief, one of the deputy chiefs within the department, I'm not sure we trust many of the people that are within the department, and there are very few people on that list that are from outside the Baton Rouge Police Department. And so I would hope that Mayor Broome scraps that list and starts over, even though that may be a belabored process. We, the voters, or the people of this community, for the most part, I have heard a single person that trusts anybody on that list.
I'm a Congo.
Well, one of the questions I have for you, Mr. Chambers, is has it really energized the community there as it relates to their electoral output? Because when you talk about these city councilors not, being part of the community, when you talk about the school board in one of the communities as well, and people not being able to galvanize, one of the things you also concerned me was how he talked about backdoor meetings with the unions. And so it feels like some members of the council have a different plan for our communities. And is this situation with Chief Paul, is it waking up the community to really get out there and take control from an electoral and election standpoint as we go into 2024?
Well, I've been in this fight for long enough to recognize that stagnation happens with our community often, but what we have to do is take these moments like this to galvanize people. In 2016, when Alton Sterling was killed, we elected a more progressive leader for our community, and we got police reform and a more equitable chief of police. I think that these things are going to cause people to rise up. They're paying attention. And the more that folks like Roland and yourself highlight conversations of what's happening in Baton Rouge, the more people get stirred up, because they're watching, they're paying attention. And when the country's watching, that makes people say, you know what, we got to do something about this.
Renita?
Yeah, what an insane council meeting, because here you have the council member who is basically accusing the police chief of having prior knowledge of what was going on in the Brave Cave and knowing all this time, and basically chastising him for standing up now and saying that, this should all be stopped. And watching that, I'm just thinking, well, I'm sure this isn't the first day that somebody has come to a city council member meeting and said what was going on in the Brave Cave. So the city council person, at least so it looks to me as an outside person, is accusing the police chief of, doing something that he has done, which is, this is not the first time you've heard about it, but you haven't taken any steps. At the end of the day, the police chief gets appointed by the mayor, and the mayor and the city council work together. So if they were concerned about the Brave Cave, they've had plenty of power to do what they needed to do. But my question for you, Gary, and good job on your Senate campaign. I very much enjoy watching that from afar. My question to you is, I understand that this has not been a part of this story, but I do want to ask you this. Usually when you see Republicans standing against something that they typically would support, like endless funding for the police, not doing police accountability, it's usually because corruption has usually involved those folks. So are there any talks around town about why these people who are pushing back against what the police chief is trying to bring to the sunlight, has there been any talks about if any of this corruption is coming close to potentially involving any of them?
Well, the real conversation is that many people in this community recognize that there's an election next year for city council and mayor. There's a heavy push for white business leaders to push her to hire a white chief of police here in Baton Rouge in a majority black city. And so they're trying to force him out in order to get her to do what they want him to do. And let's be honest, a chief talking to a white woman like that in the South, that's, Miss Ann is mad. She wants to deal with him, and she wants to tell the mayor how dare you let this black man talk to me like that? Do you understand who I am? And that disposition is resonating with some white people within this community. But I think that there are other white leaders in this community that are fed up with the tension, that want us to be a more progressive and equitable community. And there are people who want us to deal with the injustices that happen. What we have is a mechanism where the union funds some of these city council members, and they know that they're going to get funding if they're pushing to get a white chief there.
And for folks in Louisiana, don't forget, you have a gubernatorial election taking place, which means
early voting is right now, Roland.
There you go. There you go. And look, you're always crunching the numbers. What does it look like for our people in Louisiana?
It ain't looking good if we don't show up, brother. Early voting is happening right now. There's a black man on the ballot. There's a picture behind me, Roland, that shows black folks elected statewide in Louisiana in 1873. We have not had it since. There's not been a black person elected in the state of Louisiana since 1873 statewide. There's a brother with a doctorate degree. That's the former Secretary of Transportation running for governor of Louisiana. Joe Biden and Kamala, send the bag and help the man win.
Send the bag, help him win, but also folks there on the ground must do their part. We had a sister on the other day from Black Voters Matter. They're out there on the ground as well. And at the end of the day, if you're black in Louisiana, you can't complain about what's not happening in your community if you're also sitting at home and not exercising your right to vote.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, Roland.